Hello again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave, and in this video we're going to be taking a look and listen, or mostly a listen, to guitar pickups and overdrive pedals. I'll explain what this is about. I was watching some videos over on is it Spectre Media or Spectre Studios? It's Glenn Fricker's channel. Glenn Fricker is a more of a production guy, but he just has quite a bit of guitar related content on his channel. And he did a few videos a while back kind of championing the idea of how much of a role speakers play in your sound, and if you want to get a radically different sound, you can probably achieve that more readily by using different speakers than you could by changing components of the guitar like pickups. And I was expecting the speakers to make a difference, and sure enough they did, but what I was surprised about was how little difference there was between guitars with different pickups in the sound examples he had. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact he's more of like a metal producer, so the sounds he was using were more towards the high gain, distorted end of things. And it just got me thinking, at what point does the amount of gain in overdrive in your signal start to negate any subtleties that you get from different pickups? So I thought what I would do is a bit of an experiment. I've got a couple of guitars with bridge humbuckers. I've got a few guitars with bridge humbuckers. The two I'm going to be playing today is the Thompson with a DiMarzio tone zone at the bridge, and I've also got a Williams Evo over there which has got a Seymour Duncan JB at the bridge. Different sounding pickups, and just try them through a few different pedals and different levels of gain. So let's just start off with the Thompson on the clean channel. So this is the DiMarzio tone zone. So it's quite a rich sounding humbucker. Like the name suggests, the tone zone, it's got a lot of tone to it. Quite a fat, rich bottom end. There's a lot of nice mid-range sounds. It's got a lot of top end. It's very full sounding humbucker. I really like it. I know there's a lot of fans of the tone zone. So let's compare and contrast that with the JB that's in the Williams. So a somewhat different sounding pickup here. Now I can hear a difference in sound there, and hopefully you can as well. For me, that pickup's got a little bit more bite to it, possibly not as fat in the bottom end as what the tone zone is. So let's go through the different pedal options that we've got down on the board and see how these compare with the different pickups. So we'll start off with the Frederick Effects Golden Eagle. So this is basically a Klon clone with the gain set to about 10 o'clock. Okay, now let's see how that sounds when we play it with the JB. Adding in a little bit more dirt, we'll go to the Digitech Bad Monkey with a gain set to about 2 o'clock. So keeping the Bad Monkey in the signal chain, we're going to add in Boss Blues Driver, stack those two pedals together. and moving up to distortion pedal with the Arion SDI1 with the gain set to about about 1 o'clock there. And taking the gain up as far as I really want to take it, we're going to add in the Golden Eagle. So get the voice of that overdrive pedal stacked in with the distortion pedal. So certainly I can hear a bit of difference in the room, but I don't know how much of that is psychosomatic because I'm playing the guitars. I know what I'm expecting to hear. I'm probably going to cut now to Dave from the future in the edit suite. Thank you, Dave from the past. Yeah, listening to those sounds, I can hear a difference between those two pickups, and not quite the way I was expecting. I genuinely expected, as we cranked up the gain and we got more distortion coming in, the sound of the effect would become more prevalent and would lose some of the subtleties in sounds between the pickups. I don't think that was the case. To my ears, even in some of the more extreme sounds where there's a lot more gain, I think sometimes the difference between the pickups was actually more pronounced. And I think what's going on is it's not just about the difference in pickups, it's the voice of the pickup and how it interacts with the sound of the overdrive pedal. So if you have an overdrive pedal that's quite mid-focused, it puts a bit of a mid-hump in there, and then you play it through that with the JB, which, as I said, has got quite a lot of bite to it. It's quite a mid-range focused humbucker. You've got more mid-range for that mid-range biased drive pedal to accentuate, as opposed to something like the Tone Zone, which is quite full range. And because of that extra mid-range in the JB, it actually made the difference between the two pickups more obvious rather than less obvious. So that was my takeaway. It's about remembering you need to think about these things as a system. How does everything in the signal chain interact? And yes, there is definitely a difference between the sound of the two pickups. It didn't get completely lost in the overdrive. But the key word here is difference. Where I'm making the comparison is by listening to the two samples side by side. Now, I was listening to them in the context of the video where I had the visual clues, but I was also doing some blind listening. And even blind listening, I could still tell the difference from like one pickup with a given set of drive pedals and same pickup, a different pickup with the same drive pedals. I could still hear the difference. But that was doing side by side. What it was a lot harder to do was do some blind listening, just dropping in on a sound sample and saying, okay, well, judging by the voice of the drive pedals, I think I'm listening to the Bad Monkey, or I'm listening to the distortion pedal. But it was a lot harder to say that's that particular pedal with this pickup. Differences between the pickups, yes, you can hear the difference when you do it side by side, but just dropping in, it was harder to tell which pickup was which. And I think that's another important thing to consider. Now, if you're in a recording situation, something clinical where you want to get the best sound you possibly can, then choosing the right guitar, the right pickup, the right everything in your signal chain so you get the best sound you possibly can, that's really important. But in something less clinical, I'm thinking here like a live situation where you've got variables that are outside of your signal chain, like the sound of the room, the sound absorbing qualities of the audience, things like that. Those subtleties from the pickups get watered down even more because you're playing into a more complex system. So I would say in the context of a live situation, worrying about which guitar you're using, yeah, the difference between playing a Strat and playing a Les Paul, that's a valid difference, but going from like one Les Paul to another, or one humbucker, one Strat to another Strat, the differences are so marginal. I don't think it's really that relevant. There's something I've noticed, when you go to gigs now, how often guitar players change guitars. And, you know, maybe not every song, but every couple of songs they're going off to the side, going to the roadie, swapping guitars out, and often they're swapping a Les Paul for a Les Paul. And looking at the fingers and listening to what I'm hearing in the room, they're not playing in different tunings, they're just going for a different guitar. And as a guitar junkie, that's cool, I like looking at different guitars, but it does tend to break up the whole flow of the concert a little bit, where you've got like a little break between every couple of songs while people are doing guitar changes. It's actually quite refreshing to go to a gig where a guitarist just uses the same guitar all the way through the show. So I think, having listened to the way that the pickups are sounding here, it sort of reinforced to me that those differences are there, but only when you do a side-by-side comparison. Just hearing a pickup with an overdrive pedal or whatever else is in the signal chain and saying, oh yeah, I'm hearing a JB, or I'm hearing a tone zone, or I'm hearing a PAF or whatever. Those changes are fairly subtle, and probably not worth the bother of going to a guitar change. Yeah, have another guitar in case you break a string, but changing guitar just for the sake of it, I think it just breaks up the flow in a live show. Just concentrate on playing the music. But answering the question that we came to look at is, do you hear the difference in sound between two pickups with increasing amounts of gain? Yeah, I think regardless of the amount of gain that we were playing through, whether it was clean, edge of breakup, right the way through to distortion, at all points there was a difference between the two pickups. Sometimes more subtle than others, but yeah, there was definitely a difference. Okay, back to Dave from the past. Thank you, Dave from the future. Hopefully you found that interesting, and it's inspired you to experiment a bit with the gear that you have at your disposal, and think about how you can use it for tailoring your sound, and think about what really matters when you're putting a guitar sound together. So like I say, if you found it interesting, please do let me know by clicking the like button down there. And if you really enjoyed it and you want to see other videos that I post onto the channel, then please click the subscribe button, which is down there, and click the bell icon next to it so you get notified of any new videos that I post onto the channel. You're welcome to leave a comment, but YouTube's a bit rubbish at notifying me when people leave comments on videos. So if there's something specific you want to ask me, whether it's about guitar gear, effects pedals, guitar playing, music theory, anything at all, you're actually better off going here, fill that form in, send your question in that way, it comes directly to me, I'll see it and I can get around to answering your question in a future video. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.